All right, the Texas Longhorns escaped Fayetteville. They went in 20-10, Rod. It was far from perfect, but given what it looked like going into that fourth quarter, with the Razorbacks only down 6 and the ball, I think we'll take the outcome today. The Longhorns gutted out and win a relatively close game, did not take advantage of some real opportunities on offense early in the game. It almost came back to bite the Longhorns. I'm Bobby Burton, joined by Rod Babers. This is the Texas on Texas Football Channel post-game show brought to you by our friends at Flight by Yingling. Rod B, I got to ask you your initial thoughts. We're going to go over the offense and defense, talk a little special teams, all of that, as well as some stats. What did you think today while watching this game?
I think ultimately, considering where the Arkansas pass defense was ranked going into this game, I think a lot of Longhorns, including myself, assumed Texas, coming off one of the best passing performances they've had this season versus Florida, that Texas would be able to have their way with that Arkansas defense. So I think first I got to give the Arkansas defense some credit coming off the bye week. They looked a whole lot different. At one point, Sam Pittman was talking about there being open competition in that secondary, and yet they played one of their best games of the season, I think, against Texas. And I think a lot of it is on Quinn having an off game. Their 3 high looks gave Quinn some trouble looking downfield and processing things pre-snap and post-snap. I think that was part of it. Quinn had trouble with tight window throws, making throws in tight windows. Most of his big completions in the game came with kind of wide window schemed open throws. I thought Sark actually, once he figured out that Quinn was off and knowing he didn't really have a consistent run game to rely on, I thought Sark actually adapted pretty well late in the game, especially that second touchdown drive for him. That was huge. That was I said if Sark is a chess master that we hope him to be as a play caller, this is the drive. He's got to dial up some plays, knowing his quarterback is off, knowing what the running game is, knowing the reality of the situation you're in. And he did just that. Dialed up some really nice throws. Sometimes he had that play action pass with Quinn. He simplified things for him. Had more of I think it was max protection. So gave him protection to look downfield, got it to Isaiah Bond. And that was a great throw. Even the touchdown to Matthew Golden, the second one. Actually, both touchdowns. They were schemed open. Right, you got to stop, block, and go. We talked about that. That's a schemed open first read, wide window throw. Quinn knows exactly before the ball where he's going with the ball. He just got to play out the drama, theatrics beforehand, the deception beforehand. And then on the rollout, that same play, I believe they scored on versus Notre Dame. That rollout concept, they engineer the one-on-one matchup. They motion from the twins. And then once they realize they got a one-on-one, it's like Matthew Golden, go win. And Quinn, we're going to roll you toward the rook, right? You're going to roll you toward Matthew Golden. And if it's there, throw it. If it's not, throw it away. Maybe you can run it if you decide to, but he put the ball on the money. So I think Sark adapted to the level of play of Quinn today, and I thought he did that really well. But Quinn was off. That's just – ain't no doubt about it. And when Quinn's off, your offense is going to be off because you don't really have an alternative. You don't have a counter. Your run game's not that consistent. And they were able to smother all levels of the passing game. The 3 high allowed them to take away the vertical passing game. They had their linebackers played really well. Kind of took away some of the short, intermediate, underneath stuff for Texas, and they tackled a lot better in space than Arkansas had in previous games, guys. They really kind of tackled better in space. So it was one of those games where I think Sark did a great job of, like I said, adapting, evolving his game plan. I'm sure when he came in, he had a couple of shots early on in the game. He wanted to take some shots. And I think he realized early on, all right, that's not going to be there. Also, Quinn's off. Okay, all right, let me see what I got a great defense. So let's not take a lot of chances. Let's just see where we are. And I thought he dialed up the right plays at the right time. But ultimately, your defense is the story. You got one of the best defenses in the country, if not the best defense in the country. And Jahdae Barron, pretty much this was a Thorpe Award campaign in itself. Just one damn game was a Thorpe Award campaign for him. And I think he will be. I think this solidified his finalist status. Oh, yeah. Award finalist. There's no doubt. On a big stage like that, to have that big game. And then you got the Georgia game with the 2 interceptions. He's had some big games on big stages. So I think that'll get him as a finalist. Will he win the damn thing? I don't know. Travis Hunter, I'm sure, makes big plays too. So, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, I also want to say this. Thomas Offit with the super chat. Alfred Collins is mucho good at football. I want to say, before we get too far into breaking down offense, defense, and get to your questions, I want to say this. Alfred Collins, Rod, 7 tackles.
Wow.
7 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, and that strip on a screen pass to the outside, little outside screen. He came up big. Michael Taft jumps on it. Taft led the team in tackles with 8. But look at Alfred Collins today. Wow. 7 tackles for a defensive tackle. That's a hell of a lot of work. No other defensive tackle had as many as next highest was Jermaine Lole with 3. That gives you an idea of exactly what Alfred Collins was bringing. Jahdae Barron had 2 pass breakups as well as the interception. I know that they're only counting 1, but one was at INT or the pass interference flag where they picked it up as well. So look, I mean, my point on this, Longhorns had a lot of big time performances and came through in the clutch. I want to also bring you back to obviously that second touchdown drive for the Longhorns, Rod, in my opinion, was the drive of the game for the Texas offense.
Agreed.
Right. Got down there. They came out, hit Isaiah Bond on a curl route. Jaden Blue broke through for a long run. And then I want to take you back to a 2nd and 5 play on that TD where Quinn finally checked down a little bit to the tight end.
Oh,
and
yes.
Davis got it to be 1st and goal inside the 5. I thought that was that's where Quinn seemed to, or the drive that Quinn seemed to come back alive a little bit.
It's one of the first times he went through his progressions successfully.
Yes.
All game.
Then I felt like, okay, now Quinn feels that's a throw that Quinn doesn't make very often, especially in the red zone where he feels hurried at times. I felt like he came back, and then I thought he did a real nice job on the 3rd down screen pass to Jaden Blue. That was a 3rd and 13 play. That was not an easy throw. So, look, I would have given Quinn a D or an F for the first 3 quarters. Not so sure what I'd give him for the final quarter because he connected when it mattered, right? That's how it looked as well. Overall, Jaden Blue, Rod, and Trey Weiser, again, the focal points of this offense, both running and receiving. They continue to be the 2 guys that Sark is utilizing an untold amount, more than you would have maybe expected coming into this year. What do you think of the 2-headed monster at running back right now that Texas has?
I think Sark has figured out, the traditional run game with these guys, we're limited in what we can do in a traditional run game. We even talked about it earlier this week with they haven't really started popping the outside zone like they would have liked, which is their go-to staple in the running game, is the outside zone. And that hasn't really been able to be the force in the running game. It hasn't defined the running game this year like it did when they had Bijan and Rojo and like they did when they had Jonathan Brooks. So that he's been able to – he had to find other ways to really supplement the running game. And this will be the first year where Sark doesn't have that 1,000-yard rusher, right? He's not going to have one. That's okay. I think Sark has now he's not a stubborn play caller either. So I love that about Sark. And I think he understands that they're not capable of that this year, and that's okay. He'll find other ways, creative ways to basically supplement the running game. That's why those short, quick passes, the screen game is a big part of that too. And I do believe in Sark's mind, to him, that's all lumped into the same category with the running game. And so what we all look at is like, man, running game's really struggling because we're looking at traditional handoffs. I think Sark's looking at it in a more expanded view. Definition of the running game, and that's why he doesn't freak out about it like a lot of Longhorn fans are freaking out about it, because I think he knows the reality of the situation. They're not gonna become guys. This running game, it's not gonna get that much better for the rest of the season. This is it. Like this is it. This is who they are in the running game. But that's okay because there's no need to panic, because when you add up what you just mentioned there, Bobby, that Weisner and Blue are also being weapons in the passing game, but truly, do they ever get Blue every now and then gets a target downfield? But for the most part, those targets are behind the line of scrimmage or within like 3 to 5 yards of the line of scrimmage, which are essentially a long handoff. And unfortunately, that's a lot of what the game ended up coming down to in this entire game. You didn't have many successful vertical throws from Quinn down the field. But he was able to make these. And you're right, when he's able to put the ball on the money, the ball placement is so important when you're talking about getting yards after the catch for Wisner and for Blue. That's kind of an underrated quality of Quinn. He puts the ball in really good places. That 3rd and 12, 3rd and 13 you were talking about in that screenplay, man, through all the traffic and him having to navigate and put the ball exactly where Blue could get it and make yards, it's not as easy as he makes it look.
No, it is not. And that was in the throw to Juan Davis. I really thought were maybe his 2 best of the day, if you really think of it, because I think they came in pressure-packed situations, and he stepped in, delivered. I also want to say this: before we go over the whole offensive stats and the stats from the game as a whole for us, Matthew, our producer, I'm talking to you. I'll ask you to put those up in a sec. I want to mention one other thing. This game, I know it didn't feel like Texas was playing Alabama a year ago in Tuscaloosa, but something similar happened here today. And that's that Texas got the ball back with 6.5 minutes left to go in this game, and Texas never gave the ball back up. 4 consecutive first downs running the football, one screen pass, but otherwise running the football and running out the clock when a team had the 2-minute warning and all 3 timeouts. That's pretty strong. I was like, hey, are we going to see a false start? Are we going to see some kind of penalty here? Punctuated by Quinn Ewers on that zone read keep that had to be called in the huddle, by the way, or on the sideline.
I think I'm with you. I'm with you. So you think it was a called keeper?
Oh yeah, don't you?
I agree. I'm like, no, you didn't give him the chance to try to read it. He's like, no, you keep it, and if you don't get it, I think he was resigned the fact that he just go down. But I'll give Quinn, he got a lot of testicular and fortitude. I guess we're past the point of him being hurt or that being a part of it, because you don't call a play like that if you're worried about your quarterback getting dinged up. But on that last drive, you were talking about that final drive. You're right. That was a really impressive. Good point about the Bama game was when they were able to put their 7-minute offense out there and close out a game that way and choke the life out of their opponent. They started out in the pony package early on and got 5 and 6 yards. Pretty easy running the football out of that pony package. And that's kind of how they started out. And early in the game, you saw the pony package. Didn't see it much, I don't think, in between that, but it's interesting when he decides to break it out and use it. It's strange. It's interesting to me. I'd like to ask him questions about it when they're like, so when do you decide to use it? And why do you decide to pull it when you got 5-6 yards? And then he pulled it, and I think they got the negative play.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it was like a run for 2 yards or something like that. But it's interesting. Just throwing it out there. But he's using it now, I think in more critical moments, maybe not more, but in more critical moments.
Hey, Brian Robeson not joining us this afternoon. The reason why is he is playing for the Super Bowl of his league. His son is there, and Brian is the coach or one of the coaches for that team. So we wish him luck. Hey, before we go on to look at the final game stats, I want to say thank you to our sponsor. That is Flight, the next generation of light beer from Yuengling with only 95 calories. It's an upscale light beer designed to elevate the customer experience with more taste and just 4.2 carbs per can. Flight is an easy-to-drink beer with a very crisp taste. Try Flight from Yuengling. Thanks to the fine folks at Flight and our friends at Faust Distributing. That is a big game here for the Longhorns. Hope everybody drinks and responsibly after the win. Texas now 9-1 on the campaign. Matt, if you don't mind, would you please put up the stats for this game for everybody to take a look at them? Look at this. Total yards, Texas was just 315. We came into this game, Rod, thinking Texas might hit 450, but they couldn't connect on the long ball, kind of sputtered out of the gate, only 176 yards passing. They did, however, I think, really control that fourth quarter when the chips were on the table. Longhorns only having 2 penalties. I thought this was another one, 2 penalties for both teams. But maybe the biggest piece of this game, Rod, the stat there at the bottom, turnovers. 2 for Arkansas, none for Texas. Quinn Ewers, you can say what you want. He didn't really put the ball in harm's way. Jaden Blue did fumble, but didn't give it up. Whereas Jade Barron made the pick in the first quarter. Texas turned into 7 points. And then also the fumble that Alfred Collins caused and Michael Taft jumped on. Really some of the priority plays in this game.
Yeah, it's interesting. And the tackles for loss for Arkansas ended up with 9 of them. The negative plays, too, for Texas offensively. Yes. They played a clean game. Very few penalties and no turnover. So a clean game helped them win this game because you play a clean game, you're not putting your defense in a compromising position. And they didn't put their defense in a compromising position, and their defense was allowed to just go out there and dominate. And that's exactly what that defense did. I mean, that was a really impressive performance all around. So to me, that the negative plays will really cost Texas in this game offensively if they stayed away from some of those, because a couple of those basically end up being drive killers. I want to say, like, I can think of off the top of my head 2 drives they essentially were killed after that negative play happened, and then everything spirals after that.
I completely agree. I'm sitting here looking at the stats. One thing kind of surprising to me: look at the rushing yardage for both teams. 139 for Texas, 82 for Arkansas. Going into this game, that's one we were concerned about, right, Rod? 3 years ago in Fayetteville, Texas went up there, and the Hogs rushed for about 300 against Texas. If the Texas defense certainly deserves their quote-unquote flowers for how they played today, maybe stopping the run early and getting Arkansas behind the chains was a real key to this contest if you look beneath or into the numbers more deeply.
No, I totally agree. I mean, Texas defense has been great, taking away a team's identity if they have a clear, defined identity this season. They did it again against Arkansas. I mean, Arkansas, they had the healthy backfield with Jaquindon Jackson and Braylon Russell. Dubinion, I mean, they're deep. That's a deep, talented backfield, and the +1 in with the dual threat quarterback. And it was not as formidable as I thought, or maybe I didn't give the Texas rush defense enough respect. And they didn't really have a lot of explosive plays either. I mean, this is an offense that pretty much lived on explosive plays. They were top 5 in the country in generating plays of 10+ yards, 20+ yards. You didn't get many of those versus the Texas defense either. I think that most of them came on that first touchdown drive for them when they put Kobe Black in, and then they went down the field. That may have been one of their first big chunk yardage plays in the game. So they didn't get many of those either. So the Texas defense, there's no doubt about it, man. It's a championship caliber defense. That is the offense. All right, so we know it's a work in progress. We'll talk about that, but we do need to give the defense some credit. That is a championship caliber defense. And you're right, some guys on that defense, so many guys actually, are playing their best football we've ever seen them play, and maybe some of the best level play in the country at that specific position. If you're looking at Alfred Collins, Jade Barron certainly is in that conversation too. Just a lot of guys that are contributing at a really high level right now for that Texas defense.
Trey Moore got his first sack of the day too, sack of the year too. That was a good one for him. Glad to see him get on the board. Colin Simmons looked extremely athletic coming off the edge. Ethan Burke made some plays in the open field, breaking down on him. I tell you, I'm going to go back to one more play that caught me. At the end of the third quarter, Rod, they interviewed Steve Sarkeesian on the sideline. Mm-hmm. So what do you need from your defense here? Arkansas is starting to move the football, right? And Arkansas had 1st and 10 in Texas territory to start that fourth quarter, I believe. Okay. And they made a first down. And then the very next play, Texas ran a blitz, a safety blitz with Andrew Makuba. It was a run blitz to the outside coming up and tackling Taylon Green for a 3 or 4 yard loss. And that was exactly the play Steve Sarkeesian said his team needed. They needed to get Arkansas behind the chains because Arkansas's offense in that third quarter, they weren't behind the chains. They weren't being forced out of their comfort zone. Yeah. Play for loss, really big time play there for him. All right, Rod, let's talk a little bit about who you think your players of the game were. On offense, it's going to be tough because tell you what, it's definitely not Quinn Ewers. He had maybe one of his worst days as a passer, especially the first 3 quarters. What do you think overall? You think it's Jaden Blue? It's Trey Wisner, Isaiah Bond had a couple of nice catches. I would probably go with Jaden Blue on this one.
I mean, yeah, I want to go Matthew Golden, but he only had 2 catches, but they were 2 touchdown catches. So it feels like, man, Matthew Golden had a great game. He's like, actually just had 2 catches, but they were just really impactful catches. Yeah, I'm going to go with Jaden Blue because he had over 100 all-purpose yards, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
When it's all said and done. So I'm going to go with Jaden Blue in this game. He's the guy that kind of helped you keep the offense alive because the offense was sputtering, didn't have many signs of life, couldn't get the football downfield to all your great vertical threats because of the 3 high looks. Quinn was having an off game. Quinn was confused by some of those 3 high looks, so it took away the vertical, the deep and intermediate game. And all you had to really work with was a short game, and he was him and Trey Wisner were pretty much the lifeblood of that short, quick passing game. And then he broke a couple of runs for you just when you needed to in clutch situations too, when you're trying to close out the game and when you had to score on that second to last drive. So I'm with you. I'll go Jaden Blue.
Yeah, you're right about those 2 plays. The run that he actually ultimately fumbled on, but also that 3rd and 13 screen pass.
Screen pass was
good play, good play call, good stuff. Juan Davis getting a mention. He only had 1 catch on that one, but they did run a lot of 12 personnel. I will add this, okay? And Jake Majors for offense, okay. According to Dan Ham, might want to look at something like that. A guy that was up here in Fayetteville 3 years ago, a little bit of redemption for Jake Majors, Jahdae Barron, Alfred Collins, those guys that we just talked about. They were up in Fayetteville not so long ago, and the result of this game was quite different. But now we're talking about Texas going 9-1 with a 20-10 win over an Arkansas team that is now 5-5. But we got to remember this Arkansas team beat Tennessee, who takes on Georgia later tonight. A Tennessee team that only has 1 SEC loss, and that came at the hands of the Razorbacks in Fayetteville against the backup quarterback, by the way, of the Razorbacks. So keep that there as well. I would say this. Another thing, Quinn Ewers did not always get helped a little bit today. Gunnar Helm dropped the pass. Ryan Wingo dropped 1. There were a couple drops in there, or maybe could have made a catch and just didn't. But Quinn looked discombobulated most of the day until that 4th quarter. And hopefully that 4th quarter Quinn becomes the Quinn that we see the rest of this season, because it can't when they got pressure on Quinn Ewers in the first, he did not look good at all, even if it was feigned pressure at times. That feigned pressure with the 3 high look behind it gave Quinn all sorts of issues.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And that's what we've been talking about, right? And that was, as I said, that's what NFL scouts want to see from Quinn, how he handles pressure. Can he mitigate disaster? Can he mitigate the negative that happens when he's under pressure and make the right decision, whether that's getting rid of the football, whether that's checking it down to your hot route, whether that's, hell, sometimes you take a sack. Sometimes that's the right decision to make. Whether he's got to abandon the pocket, make the right decision. And it seems like oftentimes you're not getting it. And when he's processing pressure, his feet stop. His feet get, I don't know, it's weird. It's like they
go into cement. That's what it is.
I don't want to say lazy because I'm not calling him lazy.
Yeah.
But it gets stagnant, man. You got to keep it. And Jerry talks about that a lot. But specifically when he sees pressure and identifies it, while he's processing, the feet aren't active. And I think that's a big part of why oftentimes when he can either find space in the pocket, you talk about him, hey, sometimes you just got to step up. Actually, the pressure is you are the reason that the pressure got home because you did not navigate the pocket correctly. All those are things I think that he could do better at if he had more active feet in that situation. So it's some things that we've seen from Quinn before, unfortunately, that came back to haunt him in this game. And hopefully that's an aberration. And next game we get the good Quinn. But right now, yes, a tale of 2 Quinns. Pretty much in the season.
That's a good way to put it. I will say this. He did come back and play a good 4th quarter.
Yeah, he did.
I want to put that out there because the first 3, there were some mind-numbing plays. I mean, he clearly just doesn't have a feel for the deep ball, Rod. I don't know what else to say. And we saw the deep balls against Alabama 2 years ago. I don't know that we've seen a good deep ball since. And maybe we have, and I just can't remember it. But I think that's a real issue as far as the actual distance this Texas team could go. But I will say that the Longhorns overall are happy to get out of Fayetteville with the win. Let's start the defense real quick. William Niche with this super chat. Alfred and Jahdae Barron made money today. Defense stepped up. Feels so good to get this win. You're right. The Texas defense did step up, limiting Arkansas offensively, Rod, but well below their season average. Shut them out in the first half as well. Only scored 10 points throughout the game. I thought that Pete Kwiatkowski had a great game plan against a guy that's known for really being a smart offensive coach in Bobby Petrino. Not only did he stop that, but had answers in the red zone for him once. I mean, I think Texas's defense, to your point overall, not only Alfred and Jahdae, other guys on that team making money right now as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, Michael Taft is playing some of his best football. Barron Sorrell is playing some of the best football I've seen him play, but there's no doubt Alfred Collins stretch right here the last 3-4 games for him. I would like to see if he's playing as well as any D lineman that probably in the SEC in the last 3-4 games. I mean, he's really on a bit of a tear. Last week, he ended up causing 2 interceptions. This week, you see he's got a sack and 2 tackles for loss. He's starting now to make those splash impact plays, which it's hard to, from an interior defensive lineman, it's hard to see those plays translate to a box score. Usually you got to watch the tape and go, oh, I see that guy's making a huge impact for the interior D line. Now with Alfred Collins, and I love the fact they move him around, playing multiple shades up front. He should have always been one of those guys. He's got the frame. That guy can play out on the edge. He can play inside, depending on the situation. So I think now he's showing that he's got a truly a Sunday skill set. But when he tests well, because he's a freakish athlete, his frame and this film, that'll push his draft stock pretty high.
William Niche is right, Rod. They made money today. And Alfred Collins has been doing that maybe the past 4 or 5 games. Jahdae Barron's probably been doing it for the last 2.5 years.
Yes.
That's that. Though some guys with some senior leadership in a moment when your quarterback wasn't there looked to me like what they didn't have necessarily 3 years ago when they went to Fayetteville, Rod. And that's how time changes. But look, defense playing strong and fast overall. You look at the sack numbers, Colin Simmons with 1.5 sacks, Trey Moore with 1, Alfred Collins with a sack, Barron Sorrell with a sack, and Jahdae Barron with a sack as well. All good plays by Longhorns. All right, we're going to ask you now, Rod, who was your defensive player of the game? Was it Barron or was it Alfred Collins? Because it's got to be one of those two.
It's got to be Jahdae Barron. I'm a DB. I'm sorry, Alfred. You had a hell of a game, brother, but I'm a DB. We hadn't had a DB have a season like this at Texas in a while. I think he solidified his Thorpe Award finalist status. I do think he will be a finalist. I think they have 3 of them. I think he'll be one. I think Travis Hunter will probably be one too. So I'm not saying he's going to win it, but he definitely should be there. And man, his game was phenomenal. I mean, most of the damage that he did was in the first half. He had one of the best first halves I've ever seen for a DB at Texas. So no doubt about it. I think Jahdae Barron he's definitely my player of the game. And I wouldn't doubt if he's like a Pro Football Focus player of the week with that kind of stat line, a pick and multiple pass breakups, a quarterback hurry, 2 tackles for loss. That was phenomenal. Yeah, it's Barron.
Our CJ Vogel is on site, by the way, and we're going to hear from him a little bit later. He says he asked Matthew Golden in postgame how challenging the 3 high safety look is offensively. Quote from this from Matthew Golden, "It's annoying." Golden also credits Arkansas for making some adjustments to their coverage during the bye week ahead of today's matchup as well. That's what we were talking about. Look, when you're coming off a bye week, you can give teams different looks. And it's not just on the offensive side of the football, where a lot of people seem to think that that's the only place, right? But, all right, if you're going to go with Jahdae Barron, I'm going with Alfred Collins. I got to say it, that strip play was an effort play, Rod, to get to the outside and make a play and got Texas the ball back with a 10-point lead, and they never surrendered it again. I mean, Alfred Collins never had to come back on the field today, except to sing the Eyes of Texas. So that's a good day. All right, we're going to get to y'all's questions and talk a little bit. We also have some stuff from Sark coming up, I hope, as well. But first, I want to say thank you one more time to our sponsor. That is Flight, the next generation of light beer. With only 95 calories, it's an upscale light beer designed to elevate the customer experience with more taste and just 4.2 carbs. Flight is an easy-to-drink beer with a crisp taste. Try Flight from Yingling, thanks to the fine folks at Flight and our friends at Faust Distributing. Rod, I'm going to get going. Let's just ask some questions. There's one here that I want to get out of the way quickly. Jackson Miles, was DeAndre Moore injured? I spoke to someone that was on site in Arkansas, and they said he went to the injury tent with a lower leg injury, but looked fine after the game. Okay. So they could have just held him out precautionarily after the injury in the first half. I don't know for sure. Sark may be telling us something in the post game, or we'll hear something early next week on that. But that was good. That was good to notice that, Jackson, because clearly he did not return. We saw a lot of Silas Bolden.
Yeah, a lot of Silas Bolden. Yep.
As well. All right, a couple of things. Bryce Phillips here. Be grateful for this win. At this time 3 years ago, we were essentially playing for little to no reason.
Oh, yeah. I'm grateful for it. Just win, baby. Hey, just win. They ain't got to be pretty. I know people want style points. I know people out there saying, hey, you got to blow them out. They want the style points. I get that. But you won't need to have that discussion or be in that discussion if you just find ways to win. And your defense will make sure that you have a chance to win every game, even if your offense isn't playing its best brand of football. That's how good your defense is. The concern is that offense on the road at Aggieland. I get some of the anxiety by Longhorn fans. I get it. Because that defense is much better than Arkansas's defense. I get it.
I gotta say this. What's interesting about this, and I'm just looking at the numbers right now. Talk about 3 years ago, et cetera. Rod, you were part of a lot of 10-win teams at Texas, right? With 2 or 3 at least. Texas right now over the last 2 years, 21-3. 12-2 a year ago, 9-1 this year. 21-3 is a healthy football program for the University of Texas. Really, really healthy, and I'm proud of them for doing it. Absolutely.
And think about the true road game. So this last time they lost a true road game, not a neutral site one, and a true road game. Was it Oklahoma State?
Wow, in 2022.
All right, because Oklahoma was a neutral site. Your bowl game.
Well, 23 they didn't lose one. They lost to Oklahoma and Washington. Both were neutral. Yeah,
and they haven't.
So you got to go back to 2022.
That's impressive, man. I'm telling you, like, that's true. Going on the road, sometimes it be like this. Some of your best elements don't travel, and you got to find a way to win ugly. And winning ugly, hey, like my old coach would say, hey, just like girlfriends, the ugly ones count too. All right? Hey, it's all good, man. It was an ugly one, but that's all right. We'll take it.
All right, hey, I got some other questions here to get to. Sports Mask is with a fair question. If we lost, would you be defending Quinn? I'll be blunt. No. He gave me nothing to defend him really through the first 3 quarters, in my opinion, Rod. Ran into traffic himself, self-sacked, didn't make some throws that I think were possible, especially downfield. I would not. But I thought he had a really good fourth quarter when Texas had to have it. I really do. And I'll be honest. How much did you like after he made that 4th and 2 run? He got up and showed some fire in his belly a little bit with the first down.
Yep.
We don't see a lot of that from Quinn.
We don't. Shows he's happy about the win. He's like, I just want to win. So he's happy about the win. He's like, we got the win. That's what matters. Trust me, he knows that film session for him is going to be brutal with Sark.
But to Sports Basket's point, this is would I be defending Quinn if they would have lost this game? The answer is no. No, because he had a bad game. But you know what? Good fourth quarter, you win. That's what matters. To your point, Mark. All right, this one from Jeff Carey. I think we fall 2 to 3 spots in the CFP. I think we need to find out what happens the rest of today.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's and I will say this: if they go down below Tennessee after just defeating Arkansas, the team that Tennessee lost to, I think that would be kind of ridiculous, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Let me ask you this one, Rod. Scott B. Defense is championship caliber. Not so sure about Quinn in the offense. I think that's fair based on what we saw this week. But I will say this. There's some meat left on the bone for Quinn Ewers this week. I really the next 2 weeks. I really believe that Arkansas threw some things at him that he just hadn't seen lately, in my opinion.
Agreed. And that Matthew Golden tweet that you, or at least that tweet from CJ about Matthew Golden's quote pretty much sums it up. That they definitely worked on some things in the bye week and threw some looks at Texas that they hadn't seen. I'm sure Sark probably was asked about that too. So we've got to give a little bit of credit to Arkansas in the scheme. But I think ultimately for Quinn, he's just been inconsistent. We don't know what Quinn we gonna get from week to week, because the Florida game, he was amazing. I mean, even the D-ball was on in the Florida game. D-ball was on the money in that game. That's the best we've seen Quinn look, right post-injury, or at least after the injury, I should say. So I just don't know. That's a scary thought week to week, to not know what kind of Quinn you're going to get. And with these games on the road, I think that's even a higher likelihood that you're going to get, bad Quinn on the road. And you can't afford that versus the Aggies. That's this game versus the Aggies. You could potentially lose that. You almost lost this one potentially, but you could lose that game with the Aggies.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the one that everybody's got circled. They got to pay attention to Kentucky coming up next. Hey, Rod, we're going to get back to questions and super chats in a minute. But first, let's hear from Texas head football coach Steve Sarkeesian.
Man, it's always great to go on the road and win in this conference, Southeastern Conference for sure. Tough environment, hard-fought game. Just so proud of our defense. I think one thing when you go on the road, it's always great when your defense travels, and ours traveled today. Fantastic game. Jade, another great performance for him. I think he had 7 tackles, a sack, 2 TFLs, an interception. Alfred Collins, another monster game with, I think, 7 tackles, a sack, TFL, and then the forced fumble there late was a huge play. Barron Sorrell, great game. Colin Simmons, a couple sacks. So defensively, against a really good offense, that was a heck of a performance. I thought offensively, we actually found our rhythm a little bit better here in the second half. It was just minimal possessions. I think we only had 4 possessions in the second half, the way the game went. And we had, field goal drive down there inside the 10. We had a touchdown drive. We had a punt. And then to get the ball with just under 7 minutes to go in the game and to close the game out with the ball in our possession was really good execution by the guys in the second half. So all in all, really proud of our guys. Great performance for these guys on the road, and the mission continues.
He's having none of that we didn't play good talk.
Exactly.
He's like, let's get out here with a win. He's been in Arkansas before where it didn't end so pretty, and he was questioning his own program just 3 games into his career at Texas. Let's step on to that and go further with it with Justin Yarborough's super chat here, because I think it speaks to it a little bit. I never thought we would blow Arkansas out, and I thought Arkansas defense played well. Here's to 9-1 and get ready for Kentucky next week. I guarantee you similar words are being spoken by Steve Sarkeesian in that locker room right now. Be happy with the win. Get ready for Kentucky, because even we can talk about this game till we're blue in the face. The bottom line remains 9-1, and all that you want to play for is still out there.
You control your fate. Just win, baby. That's all you got to keep doing. And it don't have to be pretty. I think we'd like to see improvement though week to week offensively, but defensively, I don't know if you can ask much more from the defense in the way they're playing right now. I don't think there's a better defense in the country. I think there may be a defense with better personnel potentially. Maybe you look at NFL talent and you want to have that discussion. That's fair. But in terms of a defense playing better as a unit, I don't know if I've seen a defense in college football play better than Texas has played.
They're playing on all 3 levels. And Rod, they have a playmaker on all 3 levels.
Agreed.
That's the difference. Like, you have Jade Barron back there and making plays. Michael Taft jumped on another fumble. You got Anthony Hill that is a disruptor. And then you have 2 or 3 defensive ends and a defensive tackle right now making a lot of plays. I think it's obvious by now, this is from Mike Gosnell, that Sark has lost most of his trust in Quinn, but does not want to throw Arch to the wolves. Quinn is what he is. I think that may be a little too harsh. I think he hasn't lost complete trust in him. I certainly think Sark is not blind and can see when his quarterback is struggling a little bit. Or a lot of bit, like he was today. What do you make of Sark's evaluation of Quinn and where he's at on the trust level there?
I think there is some truth to that. Sark has lost trust in him to do some things consistently within the offense, and I think that's more with the vertical passing game down the field. And I think Sark those have to be more schemed open shots down the field. And I think that's when Quinn's really successful, or at least that when he's got a higher rate of success and when they're schemed open down the field throws. But no, I think Sark has a lot of trust in Quinn, but in Quinn's strengths, not in the limitations that Quinn has had. So the things that he has been limited in, which are some of the deep passing game, I don't think Sark is going to ask him to do that a lot. And in this game versus Arkansas, I mean, they took that away with the 3 high looks. And I think that confused Quinn a little bit too. So I don't think necessarily that Sark has lost trust to the point where he's going to go to Arch Manning. I think that's what a lot of people are thinking, like, oh, man, he's going to go to Arch in that situation. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't know if you'll get a meltdown from Quinn of that sort because Sark won't allow it to happen.
All right, let's go to this with Jeff Carey. Good on turnovers and penalties. I agree. Just 2 penalties all day long for the Longhorns, and Longhorns being the recipient of 2 turnovers or creating them. Jeff also says, great DB play, a bunch of sacks, 6 of them, and fourth quarter running game. That's exactly what Sark called out, saying that was a big one for him. Rod B, this from Eric Mitchell. It sounded like their broadcast team has been tuning into OTF with the NASCAR package call.
Nice.
Third down defense. They wouldn't be tuning in to listen to more about their team, about the team they're going to cover on Texas football. They wouldn't be listening to you, would they, Rod B?
They might be, man. That NASCAR, I predicted we'd use it, but I think we've used it a lot more than I thought. Basically, anytime they're in a 3rd and long or a predictable pass situation, which they were in a lot today against that Texas D, you see that NASCAR package, and they make plays out of it, man. I think it's their best defensive personnel group because it puts all their playmakers on the field. Colin Simmons, Anthony Hill, they bump Jadae Barron inside, and then it's either Gavin Holmes or sometimes Kobe Black out there at the corner. They just put a lot of playmakers on the field. Love that package.
Hey, Rod, I want to ask you this. One of the things they're also doing, though, is they're peeling off and getting the outside screens and the tunnel screens, even with the NASCAR package. A lot of teams will put that NASCAR package on it and have too much leakage on screens.
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree with that? They just pin their ears back too much. Texas has had, you talked about Texas being a good defense. I think part of that is they're able to do that, yet still wait for the screen.
Awareness.
Yeah.
It's the awareness, because that's what Sark got. That's what he basically got them on. He got Arkansas on that third. Was it 3rd and 13?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
They rushed 3, they dropped 8, and he's like, all right, they're gonna rush 3 and drop 8. You know what? I'm gonna get my O-line out in front of the blockers, and then I can get 13 yards if he can find daylight. And for Texas, they do a good job just being situationally aware. I think they have good feel for the game, and they do a great preparation and film study. So your screens, they sniff them out pretty early. Texas does. And they're situational awareness is what I think.
Yeah, and they peel back. They peel back so well. All right, this one's the last one. We're going to go to CJ Vogel in here 1 second. If Quinn's pocket awareness gets better, I think he will go from good to great because the arm talent is there, gets very skittish with pressure. CJ, we're bringing you in here. What did you think about Quinn Ewers? He is the talk of the town. I know you just talked to him a few seconds ago at the postgame presser. What did Quinn Ewers have to say about the pressure he saw in the first half in particular?
Yeah, it wasn't a pretty day. I think anybody, would agree to that. It was a frustrating day. And, for Quinn, he said the biggest thing for him is to be able to go down when you needed 2 two possessions at the end of the day. You need a touchdown to stretch it into a two-possession game, and then you got 7 minutes to run off the clock. And Texas was able to successfully do that. Sarkeesian called it a pretty efficient afternoon offensively. I guess second half you could argue that. But, hey, it was a frustrating first half, and I think everybody would sit here and agree. I actually asked Matthew Golden and Quinn, what kind of issues was that cover three or that three safety high look that Arkansas brought? Said, listen, they tweaked a couple things that we had seen in film from their bye week, especially against Ole Miss. I think that was something that maybe gave Texas a little bit of fits, but Arkansas certainly rallied to the football, took away some of those underneath routes, and and all in all, Texas just kind of shot itself in the foot repeatedly on short distances. 3 different times it was second and short, and Texas ended up losing 7 or 8 yards. So frustrating day all the way around. One big takeaway for the Texas offense after talking to a few of them is they finished strong, and I think that's the big takeaway is you got a touchdown when you needed it, and you took off 7 minutes of clock when you needed it. And that's after all, you got a road victory in the SEC. You don't see those all too often.
Yeah, I think that's a great takeaway. If you're going to have it, you're going to have momentum on offense and defense. This Texas defense, they're not going anywhere. If they were ranked number 1 in defense nationally before this weekend, they won't be after this weekend either. Texas defense really came to play. We heard a little bit from Sark about that. What were some other folks saying about the Texas D, both Alfred Collins and Jahdae Barron in their games?
Yeah, I spoke with Jahdae Barron after the game. He said, listen, it's all on PK, putting me in positions to be the game breaker that we saw today, right? He had 2 tackles for loss, a sack, an interception really early in the game that Texas was able to convert into a touchdown. Listen, there were Thorpe Award representatives in the press box today. If they don't know what I don't know if you could have put together a better, defensive performance for a cornerback than what Jahdae did today. So that's going to go a long way. But at the end of the day, listen, that defense, and I thought Jahdae actually had a really good quote. He said, listen, we walked out of the tunnel, and I'm sitting there with Barron Sorrell saying 2021. Remember 2021. And that was kind of the message. We talked about the 11 older cats on the roster, 9 of which are starting today. That game meant something to them this morning, and they certainly carried over their experience from that loss 3 years ago to today, and basically just whenever they were on the field, make sure that they got the ball back to the offense, and they did a heck of a job in that regard today. Jahdae again said, we're playing 11 as one, and when you do that, it's tough to score on us. I think that's again going to be that consistent theme that we see with this defense, not just in the past but moving forward as well.
All right, Rod, you have something for CJ, buddy?
No, I just wanted to ask you about. I saw your tweet about how overjoyed the guys were on that conversion, that 3rd and 13. Describe for the folks out there, you tweeted about it, but describe to the folks out there the reaction you saw from the guys on the sideline.
Yeah, I mean, at first I was sitting in the end zone over here. You actually see some of the players and their families taking photos and celebrating. They're about to depart here as well. I was sitting in that end zone, and I'm recording and I'm following the running back, obviously, because why would I not? And then I look over and I see Quinn kind of in a dogfight with the defensive back, and he's falling forward. He gets the first down, and immediately I hear an eruption from the Texas stands, but more so the sideline. So I zoom over, and it's Jeff Banks and it's Steve Sarkeesian. And I asked Sark about it. I said, for you in the program, it's a big win, but we saw the emotion. Take us through that. And he said, listen, these are the moments that you're going to remember forever if you're a Texas player, right? Especially for those that were on the roster in 2021. You remember walking off with thousands of Arkansas fans storming the field and making sure that you felt what that defeat was like. He said, well, it's not winning on the road. It's not easy to win on the road in this conference. So when that happens, cherish it, walk off this field, and remember what it felt like to walk into Arkansas and come away with the victory. How ugly it was, how pretty it was, it doesn't matter because you ended up victorious, and that's something that Sarkeesian mentioned in the postgame locker room meeting as well, is, hey, cherish this moment because there's no guarantee that you'll see it again. And I thought that was a really cool moment for him to share with us, and obviously we saw the emotion on the sideline whenever that game was iced out.
4th and 2 was that play, and CJ, they let me explain this to folks that are joining us. They let the media members down on the field, typically with about 5 minutes to go in the game, so that they can make their way quickly to the press conference area. And so you got to watch the last 5 minutes of that or so, probably on the field of play. What a great experience that must have been for you.
Awesome.
what did the team also react to Quinn Ewers doing the big first down move after that? Because Quinn is usually pretty sedate or reserved, I guess would be the best way to put it. Did the team react to Quinn and his show of emotion there too?
Yeah, we talked to Trey Wisner, who basically said Quinn's in the huddle telling them every play, every time they go out on the field, you're a dog. You're a dog. That's what Quinn tells Trey and all the running backs whenever they get on the field. You're a dog. Remember that. Well, it was Trey telling Quinn after that play, you're a dog. You just won the game for us on that fourth down. And again, it was an ugly game for Texas. It was a poor game from Quinn. But that's kind of the resiliency that this offense has, and I think that's encouraging, again, for the players to have their back. We talked to Kelvin Banks as I was leaving as well. Just knowing that when you needed a big play, when Texas needed points to seal the deal, it was the running game. It was the offensive line. It was Quinn going 3 of 3 on that drive to get the ball down the field to start. They had each other's backs, and I think that's something that Texas fans need to realize is, hey, that offense, for as sluggish as it was today, they fought tooth and nail towards the end, and that's a big reason why they came off victorious today. And Quinn sealing the deal, I think, in a way, is kind of poetic for him to put the stamp on that game for how rocky of a game it actually was. That it's going to mean something on this flight back and going into practice and film on Sunday.
CJ, thank you so much, dude. You always bring a lot to the table. We appreciate you. Have a safe trip back yourself. And I got to tell you, make sure you get gas at an easy place to get gas at, because the old guys tell me that you used to not be able to get gas in the state of Arkansas before you came back. So
that's why I'm wearing blue.
I know you're all about generations and stuff, and talking about how this generation doesn't see it as a rivalry. The old generation would have told you you may not be able to get gas in the state of Arkansas on game day. Yeah. So you have a safe one, buddy.
Thanks, guys.
Take care, buddy. It's always good. CJ there on site for us. He's our Sal Paolantonio, man. Remember Sal Paolantonio always on site?
On the field, baby. Yeah.
All right, Dave, we're going to get back to everybody's questions and thoughts. Before we do so and get back to the chat line, I want to say thank you one more time to our sponsor, Flight, the next generation of light beer. With only 95 calories, it's an upscale light beer designed to elevate the customer experience with more taste and just 4.2 carbs per can. Flight is an easy-to-drink beer with a crisp taste. Try Flight from Yuengling. If you've never done it, you'll really like it. Thanks to the fine folks at Flight and our friends over at Faust Distributing. Rod B., let me ask you this. You agree with this question or this one? Ambassador Texas says, success from here on will be on the O-line, period. Tell you what, game on the line in the fourth quarter, offensive line, Texas was able to run the football 4 consecutive running plays, just one pass, or 4 consecutive first downs with just one pass to salt the game away. They were able to run when they absolutely had to on Saturday.
I like that, Ambassador, because they're going to need to – the running game needs to be juiced up a little bit, get you some more push in the running game. And if Quinn gets time, right, we're all talking about Quinn disintegrating under pressure, right? His feet getting, lazy under pressure, inactive under pressure, him making bad decisions, not stepping up. This is all issues under pressure. When he's got a clean pocket, I mean, Quinn can deliver the football as well as anybody in the country. So, yeah, if the offensive line can keep him clean, I mean, that opens up a different level of the passing game. But right now, teams are finding an effective way to create pressure on Quinn. And that's not all on the O-line, by the way. That's not all on the O-line. Some of that is on Quinn, pass protection with the backs. But at the O-line, no doubt about that. They play at an elite level, then it can help out every element of the offense.
Rod B. David Bayer says, maybe being nostalgic, but I feel Sam Ehlinger brought more to the table than Ewers. Looking forward to Manning, but Ewers has turned out to be pedestrian, slightly above average quarterback, liability under pressure. I think he's a liability under pressure. I have no problem with agreeing to that. I will say that he is very accurate typically as a passer. He made 2 bad passes, I thought, to Gunnar Helm. He was atypical. One was in the flat and one was in the red zone.
Yes, the slant, right?
Yeah, the slant in the red zone, and then one down and away from him on a 2nd and 8 play that made it 3rd and 8. My point on all this is that actually, if I told you that the Texas quarterback was 21-3 over the last 2 years, I would take pedestrian all day long. I'm just look, Sam Ehlinger was never 21-3. Now, he didn't have the personnel around him in some respects. But my point being, and this has nothing to do with Sam, look, Quinn can be pedestrian. He can actually be worse than pedestrian at times. Most quarterbacks can. The thing that Quinn can do, though, he can complete open passes as well as anybody within 20 yards. I mean, he was not perfect today, but he's usually better than that. That's easier said than actually done. J.S. Hooper, Sark needs to be Quinn's puppet master. When he doesn't dial up creative plays for him, Quinn can't carry the load as a playmaker is on. What do you say, Rob?
I totally agree with that. I totally agree with that. It's if you're talking about second reaction plays, off schedule, being able to operate. That's why when he holds on to the ball longer at times, that's troublesome for Quinn. Because then he's broke, the progression has broken down. Right, he's looking to operate something off schedule, or when he's got to get deep into progression. That's why you love to play to Juan Davis. Right, you love that play because he got all the way through the progression. He got all the way through it. Boom, boom, boom. Got all the way to like the fourth guy in the progression, and then he dumped it down. Was able to create, time and space in the pocket so he could do it, maneuver in the pocket. Those are plays you want to see more of from Quinn. So I agree, he's not the kind of he's not that kind of quarterback. He's not going to. I don't think, in my opinion, be good in improvisation situations and be good in second reaction situations. You want him on schedule and on time. So what happened in this game? You were behind the chains, so you were off schedule offensively, which means he's probably got to operate a little bit more off schedule because you're in predictable passing situations, second and long, third and long situations constantly where he's got to throw it, the defense knows he's going to throw it, and they dial up pressure on him. So yes, the offense has to be clicking for him, which means you got to be ahead of the chains. And yes, Sark's got to dial up first read, wide window throws a lot of the times because you don't want him having to go through progressions a lot. You'd rather have him, like you said, be able to focus on what he's good at, strengths, which are ball placement and accuracy, touch, layering of the football. And those are all things you can do with the quick game, with the short game. When you start going down the field, vertical throws, those are sometimes deeper into progressions. And also that's a different type of accuracy, which we all agreed Quinn's not. That's not a natural strength for him. So that's a good observation about Quinn.
One JS also who gave us that previous super chat also says Quinn's a less athletic Jared Goff. May not be a bad estimate there. I think Jared has been better on the deep ball. Roy Walmart, thank you for the super. Will we get a stud punter in the portal? Imagine we had someone like Michael Dixon. Our D plays significantly better when facing long drives.
Yeah.
I will say this much. Texas will go portal shopping, especially if it goes to 105 scholarships next year. So keep that in mind. If it goes to 105 scholarships, you can bet they're going to go find another punter outside of just Michael Kern and Ian Rather. Sean McCumber. At this point, I think Quinn is thinking too much on those deep shots. That has to get cleaned up. Barron Collins both improved their draft stock. How do you clean up deep shots, though? Better feet? I mean, it just looks like he has bad timing and I can't tell whether it's trajectory or it's almost like he's throwing it a split second too early before the receiver even breaks for it. What do you think of that?
Yeah, it's because he has difficulty throwing guys open on the deep balls, right? Judging how to throw a guy open. And this has been the case, guys, since he's been here. This is not new. He improved on it, but it's just not a natural strength for him. Even when he had Xavier Worthy and AD Mitchell, you had the fastest wide receiving core in the country and couldn't complete those deep balls. So it's not about separation from the wide receivers. I think we know that.
Yes.
Yeah. All
right. This one from Chris Jackson. Appreciate you guys. In all seriousness, let's enjoy this. I agree. Look, 9-1. Yeah, it's been 15 years for me, baby. I don't know about you. I've been there. I've seen what 5-5 looks like Sam Pittman's suffering through right now. Trace Little heard we are bringing in Tom Herman to coach up QB. Maybe it's the QB run. Sam would have gotten 3 yards on that 4th and 2 instead of 2.
Bam, bam, Sam, baby.
Hey, look at this one. This one from Trey Weisner's uncle, I believe. Derek Weisner. Ugly win, but worth the drive.
Exactly.
Big again today. Another solid game from the two running backs, the two-headed running back room right now for the Texas Longhorns. Daniel Kinnaman, thrilled with the win over the Piggies, frustrated with self-sack Quinn. He doesn't seem to have good feet in the pocket. I've got to agree with that. He has not shown, Daniel, to have those feet. Rod talked earlier about how his feet are stopping when he senses pressure as opposed to reactive. That's a big one. Rod, I want you to ask this one because I actually did a close-up of it on the television broadcast. How much impact can playing surfaces have on an offense? Dude, they did a up-close shot of the grass. Rod, yeah. There's no doubt that grass was made for Jaquindon Jackson and Braylon Russell and not for Jaden Blue and Trey Weiser today.
Yep, no doubt. That it does, man. That cuts down your speed. That's an old school football trick, man. You got to play against a team with a lot of speed. Let's make sure that grass is real thick and high. It'll cut down that speed a little bit. That's a good. I don't know how much. I'm not sure scientifically. All right, how much it cuts down the speed, but that is the traditional football logic. Is that on long grass like that is tough, and Texas may not have come prepared. You can change your cleats up, and sometimes it'll help you in terms of how long your cleats are. But yeah, Texas didn't expect it. It'll slow you down a little bit. Every little bit counts, right? Every little bit counts.
It does. Rod, this is a great question because we're talking so much about Quinn and his performance on in Saturday's game. Trace Little, Rod, but you always say what a player's elite skill is. Quinn's is a screen pass. I've got to be honest though. Matt Stafford has an elite screen pass.
Yeah,
I mean there is a guy. There are people that can throw that very, very well. That the throw to you can say what you want. The throw to Jaden Blue on 3rd and 13 was not an easy throw.
Nope.
I mean, it was a sidearm slingshot in tight quarters, and he put it on the money. What is Quinn's?
What is Quinn's X-Man ability? What does he do as well, if not better than everybody? I think it is his the short, quick game. I think his accuracy on the short, quick game throws is as good as any quarterback in the country. I really do. I think I know for folks that's not a sexy X-Man.
Yeah, no, it's not go deep.
Yeah.
So
he's good. He does have arm talent to make those throws. We've seen it, but it's not his deep, like the deep vertical shots. No, but think about when he throws like the deep curl route or that deep comeback on the opposite sideline from the opposite hash, which we've seen against Alabama. Him throw those kind of throws. That's elite ability in the intermediate. Even Shark basically broke that out against Arkansas on the gotta have it drive, right? That second touchdown drive, they ran the play action, the deep curl. He's like, boom, I know my guy can make that throw. Not all the quarterbacks in college can make that throw, but he can make that throw. And they kind of went to it. So I do think he's really good in short to intermediate. I think he's elite there. I think when you take away the deep element of it, it does make it easier to defend those short intermediate throws though for Quinn.
All right, we have some more questions to get to here. We're talking about the post-game win, 20-10 over the Arkansas Razorbacks. This is the On Texas Football Channel post-game show with Rod Babers, myself, Bobby Burton. Thanks to our sponsor, Flight by Yingling. Rod, I want to mention a couple of scores that are going on right now. Florida beating LSU 7-0. It's only in the first quarter. Excuse me. Also want to mention that Penn State up on Purdue 14-0, Alabama 38-7 over Mercer. SMU are early in that contest, but already up 10-0 over Boston College at this point. Of course, big game coming tonight. Georgia hosting the University of Tennessee. That should be a big one as well. All right, hey, this one I think is a comment that I made earlier. Texas boy says I've hated living in Fayetteville, Arkansas, the last 10 years. But the people here are harmless, and I'm always in my Texas gear.
Hey,
I've got to say this. I think the rivalry, to your point, has died down over the last 20 years, unquestionably. Okay? Mm-hmm. I don't know if you could have lived there 30 years ago and worn your Texas stuff around. I'll just put it that way. So It could be the timing. And I think there'll be people that are more my age and older that might back me up a little bit on that as well. Rudy Serta, has Alfred Collins' play gotten him into a first or second day pick? How many plays do you think Sark has saved for A&M? Two questions in one there. Has Alfred Collins gotten him into a first round pick? That's a first day pick. or second day pick, how many plays do you think Sark has saved for A&M?
The Alfred Collins thing is a first round pick. I'm not going to say because first round is for freaks. I always say that. He can be a really good player, but they like freaks in the first round. So if he tests, out of this world and tests like an alien, then yeah, he's a first rounder based on his play. But I don't know if he's going to test like that. So being the first round, I don't know. Second day, though, I think it is possible, depending on how he tests, for him to increase his draft stock that much and how he finishes the season too. He's going to have a chance in big games to make some big plays. And if he can show those guys that he can be a guy that can play multiple shades, and be a guy that can stop the run consistently and be an impact pass rusher on some of those later downs, man, those are becoming more and more valuable these days. So he could. I mean, it's possible for Alfred Collins to – I say a second day right now. That's possible.
I do think second day right now.
Yeah.
He's starting to get sacks, Rod.
Mm-hmm.
They like disruptors.
Splash players.
That can move in and out.
Mm-hmm.
And so if he can move out on the pro level, almost like a Charles Omenihu, by the way.
Great. That's a good point.
You know what I mean? Where you can move him inside and pass rush and play him outside if you need to. Joey Austin says it's Kyle Flood calling plays. Is that why the OL is not elite? Matt Maddox was a better OL coach at Texas. I got news for you. That's just Joey.
Wow.
I love you, buddy, but disagree. Matt Maddox is not a better coach than Kyle Flood. Well, has not been and will not be. No offense to Matt Maddox, but the Texas offensive line actually, Texas just held the ball for the last 7 minutes.
Yeah,
they're not perfect. The other team has players that are going to be pretty good as well. But that's another one. Hey, Rod, this one from BB. Did Matthew Golden raise his draft stock? We're on a little draft talk here late in this chat, but what do you think about Matthew Golden? Only had 2 catches, to your point. What'd you think?
I believe wide receiver is the deepest position in football at any level. And so it's always a deep crop of wide receivers coming out every draft. I do think he is making himself some money in terms of increasing his draft stock, and to what extent. That's tough at wide receiver. That's tough because there's so many guys coming out. Isaiah Bond would probably be drafted higher just because of his freakish world-class speed. And I don't know how Matthew Golden is going to test, but Matthew Golden is an NFL guy. And that's pretty clear. Like, he's going to get to NFL. He's savvy. He's a precision route runner, great at blocking. He's going to get great character references from Sark and the staff because they love him. He's the most trusted of the wide receivers in the circle of trust. I think, honestly, Matthew Golden, like I said, I don't know where he's going to test, if he'll run a freakish time. But, he'll be drafted in middle rounds. No question about that. At least in the middle rounds, I think, somewhere around there. You're looking at all the wide receivers. But Bond is the one that, even it not being as productive potentially, he's the one that has the highest ceiling draft-wise of the wide receivers because he's got an elite trait. And you got it. What's your elite trait? That's what gets you drafted in the first round. Something they cannot coach or teach that's elite. And that's all about the testing and that's other stuff that, I can't quantify.
Hey, Rod, before we let people go here, thank you all for joining us, by the way. Texas winning 20-10. Try to sum up this game, if you would, for people. Just, you've had an hour now. We've been talking about it quite a bit. Some outstanding play from some seniors. Jahdae Barron, Alfred Collins. Those guys stepped up, I thought, on defense. Outstanding game overall from the defense, although Arkansas seemed to get some momentum. When that happened, Texas actually thwarted it on defense with a big play. Quinn struggled for 3 quarters before finding some rhythm. The offensive line or the running game struggled for 3 quarters until finding some rhythm in the fourth quarter. Is this just go down under gutty win, move on? Or is there something underlying that is concerning you or that you're excited about? I want to say this. I'm a little excited about their play in the fourth quarter on offense when they had to have it, and their play in fourth quarter on defense. They caused a field goal try and a turnover in the fourth quarter. The defense did. Not bad. So I think they have some momentum going into Kentucky. Actually,
last year we saw them have to exercise that clutch gene, right? They used it a lot in the K-State, in the TCU, in the U of H. We saw it over and over again, and we became confident in this team in a clutch situation. Like, oh, no, they're gonna find a way to make a play here. This is what this team does, and we hadn't seen this. This team is obviously great. They're gonna potentially, compete for a national title, but we hadn't really seen them tested in that way. Vanderbilt was, I guess, somewhat close clutch time game win. And this was one of those days where it came down to them having to win in clutch time. They've been blowing teams out, or in the Georgia game, they got blown out themselves. So I'm glad to see them tested in this manner and pull out the win on the road. UGLY, yeah, it was an ugly win, but they got it. Something else that I think is starting also to materialize, and I don't think Sark's ever experienced it either. Sark's known for his offensive brilliance. And, even when Sark came here, Longhorn fans, this, Bob, because you've been a long-time Longhorn fan. Longhorn fans have been complaining about the Texas offense for decades. Like, the last offense they didn't complain about was Darrell K. Royal's offense. Right? Yeah. Other than that, they hated Greg Davis's offense the whole time. They complained about it. Complained about Tom Herman's offense. Of course, Charlie Strong. But they like Sark's offense. From day one, from year one, Texas fans loved Sark's offense. And so the program, the identity of it has been offensive. But the truth is, and we just don't want to realize it, I don't know, but we look at the team and we see them through that prism that, oh man, this is kind of a bad game because of the offense. The truth is, guys, this is a defensive minded team. Like, they win with defense, and we're just not used to I don't know how often a Sark team, or the head coach or the OC, how often a Sark team has had that kind of mentality and had that is their brand and identity. Is that no, this is a defensive led team, guys. It is. It ain't led by the offense. I think that's troubling for all of us. That's why even with them 9-1, there's there's this anxiety for Longhorn fans in the pit of their stomach, because I think we expect this. Oh man, the offense is struggling. This is an offensive team. No. The offense actually it should be complementary to the defense. The defense was winning you games. The defense is leading the way. The defense is the best in the country. And so I just think that is counter to everything we expect in the perception of Sark's teams and what we have had seen here in Texas with Sark's teams. And as the season goes on, the offense continues to be inconsistent and having struggles. The defense is getting better. It's just every game, guys getting better. Having their best games, and Taff and and Barron and Sorrell and it's just
six sacks.
We were complaining about that early. Remember, it was like, they can't get sacked. Why don't they get it? We had the best defense in the country, and we were still complaining. Why aren't they getting sacked? They need to get more sacks. What do you say? And I would give my man Brian Robeson credit. He said they come in bunches. They come in bunches. When they come, they're gonna come in bunches. And they came in bunches. And they got, that lead the SEC in interceptions. Guys, I know we're kind of trained and programmed to think about this as this Texas offense, and that's the identity of this program right now, but not this season. Not with the run game the way it is, not with the offensive line having inconsistent play, not with Quinn being inconsistent. No. It's a defensive-led team. And when you flip the perception like that, you go, oh, well, that's how we're supposed to win. And then 20-10 is like, oh, there you go, because we win with defense. Well, offense is not the offense has to not lose us the game. Don't put our defense in compromising situations. Don't give the offense short fields. No self-inflicted wounds like today, right? Very few penalties. No turnovers. You do that offense, and you ain't gotta be prolific. Your defense gonna keep you winning games, and that, I think, is what I'm starting to realize. And I think that's, if you look at it like that, long fans, you'll be a lot less stressed out.
I love that. That's the way to end it. I think that's a good synopsis, Rod. Is the defense is where Texas is hanging its hat right now. The offense just can't muck it up and has to capitalize when they get the opportunity.
Yep.
Right. So
points off turnovers, stuff like that.
Yeah, points off turnovers and running the clock out.
Yep.
I mean, look, they didn't score any points on that drive. They shut the game out, though. Mm-hmm. And Quinn, no turnovers. No turnovers from the running backs, et cetera. Good stuff. Texas moving on. That's the big thing for me. 9-1 after today. Let's go enjoy watching some college football the rest of the afternoon. Have a little fun with the Longhorns. 9-1, ranked number 3 in the country. All right. Thank you also to CJ Vogel for stopping by and talking to us in the post after the game. After he talked to both Steve Sarkeesian and a bunch of players. Thank you also to our producer, Matt Hutchison. And thank you to our sponsor, Flight by Yingling, as well as our friends over at Faust Distributing. For Rod Babers, I'm Bobby Burton. You guys have a good one today. 9-1, 21-3 over the last 2 years. That's a hell of a run.
Hell yeah. Hook 'em.